Pesach. So, so where we're at right now is on number Pei Gimel on page Mem. Let me get a drink here before I get faint. Okay, Pei Gimel starts like this. It says, "V'hine b'hizgalas hachesed v'kavur lamata min hachazah." So now we say that we move to a different position. The Taras Yesod sense of Ima extends down to the Chazah Zair Anpin, but stops. So then the Chitziza at that place where they're open and they're not in a covering, then the other side can get a hold of them. So it should be interesting. Now we were talking about them being at the neck, so that's where the upper das is located. The v'chazah which lowers the das, the Zair Anpin mistayim yisod imach b'his umizgala hachug. So then the chesanim gevuros are out there. V'sham yicholim b'chitzona the yanach hahad v'sholem medof nechaguf the Zair Anpin. That they're in a position then what to nurse off or feed off of the walls of Zair Anpin v'yeshem k'tzas sakiza b'chesanim gevuros. So there's a little bit of a hold on them on the chesanim and the gevuros. Now, I don't know what he meant by this is always a hard place for me when he talks about the goof of the Zair Anpin. That apparently he's saying, it sounds like he's saying that they're on the outside of Zair Anpin, but that they could penetrate Zair Anpin, or they will, because at least to some extent through the walls of Zair Anpin, which means that there were walls. He was born out, and there's an entity there. That's what I'm thinking that he means there. Yosef das Yosef Makov. So this word with this pain is that the das, the pain in the das. This is referring to the possibility of the other side feeding off of these revealed chesadim megavuras. B'hi Yosef das ne'elhom and mechusa tocho yisod de'ima shuhu adachazim. Oz ein akali ne'achazim bo. Over his galas the matach min chaza, and when they're revealed down below the chaza, asher ba'az vadai ha'rasach notosefis nitosefis sham behi yosef begilu, because now the radiance of them is very strong. They're in a place where there's nothing stopping them from shining. Oz Yosef Machov, there's more pain that happens here, which are what? What's the pain? Shehem Akali, this is the falseness. And Echazim Sham, which is able to get a hold of that. Ve'ein Mekov, Godel Mekov Zed. This is no pain worse than getting into these falsenesses. So he says, Yisod Ima Megia Adachazim the Zair Anpin V'ad Makom Yisod Hem Bekusim V'necholoma B'levush Yisod the Ima. V'lefichoch Ein Hakali Ne'achazim B'hem. So therefore, there's no possibility of the Chiza. Umena Hazar the Matan the Typhus Aras Haaras Hadas the Hiyos Begilui. So now from there the Fisha Ain Sham the Vusha Yisoda the Ima Bakasim Alov Bahamnam Davka Sham Bamakom Reboy his Galos Hadas Yahola Bakitzanda the Yanachas Vishal. Became in Shuhum Bamakom Magulda because it's wide open inside of the body of Zair Anpin. She'ein levush yisod de'ima mechasim alechem bezecha b'masha kasav Yosef das. So in addition to that das, or and onto the das, the hind of b'makam shemizgalach misrabach das. So Yosef das, I guess, means when you see that what's inside a das is revealed. The sham Yosef makov. This is where the pain increases. She ain't kov gadol shachachitzonim yechola the yanim achachasane v'chagavuras chashushalim lehi Yosef b'makom magula ve'ain kan gadol mim'akov zeh mim'kov zeh shachakali ne'achazim b'kedusha. They'll call him are able to get a hold of that kedusha as a result of his exposure. ואז בחיוסה חסדה וחבור שם למטה בחזה משחקים לשני בחינס חמישה דם טהור וחמישה דם טמא. Now over in the Shefa down below, he asks an obviously question. He says, wait a minute. He says that we talked about the Dam Tor and the Dam Tameh. That's in the Nukva. Here he says it's taking place in Zair Anpin. So let's see how it goes. So he says, Lamantaka min chaza. If you go down below the chaza, he says, min chaza, who makom his galas a chasadim v'chagavuros. It's a place of the revelation of the chasadim and gavuros. V'le chasadim v'chagavuros yesh bechinas levushim. Now this is where I'd like to get more specification, but let's see what we can make out of it. He says, but the chasadim and gavuros, they're not just chasadim and gavuros, they're also maluvish in the Akarayim of Ima, V'yesh Bechinas Levushim, Shehiz Boyer La'er Shelevushim, Elo Nekroim, they're called by the name of Domim, right? Because the Akarayim of Ima is 44, which is Dam. Shelevusha Chamisha Chasadim Na'asid Dam Tahor, V'chelevusha Chamisha Gavuras Na'asid Dam Tameh, V'lechem Makum B'dam Tohor, V'chadam Tameh, so where do you see the domim appearing? It's there, not in the nukva, he says. Because so that's all, whether it's not a Zair Anpin. So now he says the os al ha'alef shebashem avad the milui ma. So there's these alafim. Mora al kiyosa chasada v'chagavuras ha'edach ba'od b'soch Zair Anpin is showing us that they're still inside a Zair Anpin. Then after that, kasher eloch hachasadim v'chagavuras nitenim al rochel nukva de Zair Anpin hanikbros he achronu shel levayin dema the galafim b'sod zivug. So that's another idea. He says that the nukva is actually refers to the final hay, but we have no problem with that. But the hay is written. Let's see, he didn't say that yet. So let's get going. After Sheyarda b'chasadim v'chagavuros the yisod the Zair Anpin nitanen l'chasadim v'chagavuros the l'rochel shehi Nook the Zair Anpin v'hi nikros os hey achrona sheb'shem b'vay b'milui ma v'chazah no senes al rochel b'eis hazivug. So with the yichud between the first three, which is actually the gematria tal, then you have the a yichud that takes place with the final hay. For Oz osa ma'alef osa hay. He says hay. Osa ha'alef, the aleph that you find. Now the point is that the yichud is taking place, and there's an aleph inside of that hay that we talked about. Shebemilui os aleph hazosa achrona. He romezes al shem ekir b'rivua oladam haniten barochel. So I'm not really 100% sure what he's telling me, but he's saying that, what is he saying, that there's also a lavush on rochel, or what? I'm not sure what he means. That's really referring to the transfer into the Nook. So he says the osa aleph. How do I understand this? I'm having a little trouble here. So the los aleph shebemilui hay, which is hay aleph achrona shebeshem b'vayid b'milui ma romas al levusha chachasadim b'chagavuras and the rochel, which is this rivua of akia, which is dam. It's being covered over by dam. She'os aleph azuhu gam hu romezu the shem akia b'rivua, which comes to the dam. I think this is the reason why he's saying this. He says he just wants to show you that there's dam over here as well. Shehem levushe chachasadim v'chagavuros and mispashtim me'ima that are coming out of ima, which we know those are levushe. V'hem sod hadamim sheyesh b'rochel Nook the Zair Anpin, and this is the blood that's in the Nook the Zair Anpin. Sheyesh b'cha b'damim tahara v'damim tamei, and they all wind up in her. Shebepasulas levushe chachamisha. Let's go back over this. This is why I want to look at more detail. He says shebepasulas levushe chachamisha chasadim. So the pasulas that come out of the 5 chasadim. Na'aseh chamisha damim tahorim. They make 5 pure, or let's say tahor bloods. But he said what? So just excuse me. This is where it gets confusing for me, because the damim is a lavush on the chasadim, and the that's where I understood it. So our levushim on the chasadim and the gevuros. Now he says shebesulas levusha hachamisha chasadim, because now the levushim have to be refined, and they have extra a leftover, let's say, which is the pesulas. Naasa b'chamisha damim taharim. So the pesulas that come out of the chasadim are going to be the dam. They're called now dam. They're not called the revu of Akya. They're called by the name dam. Though pesulas chamisha the vusha gevuras naasa chamisha the vushim tameim. So now they're all but this here he's talking about the dam part. Now I'm not sure what happened to the levushim, which is the revuas, but let's go on. He had this question up above. Madua korem lachamisha or levusha chosada v'lachamisha levusha gevuras dam tahor v'dam tamesh v'no. Why we apply that word? V'harech chosada v'chamisha gevuras heim b'das Zair Anpin. Ubakan is bar a kol al nachon. So here now we're getting everything explained properly. What is that? Shebe emes, that the truth is, b'dechila, chamisha devusha chasada v'chamisha devusha gavura heim b'das Zair Anpin. No. So his amnam acher kach nos them the Zair Anpin to Nook. Now, again, remember, he was talking before about, they have 3 different things here now. That's the way I hear it. You have the chasadim and the gevuros themselves. You have the levush of the gevanim and the suros, the chasadim and gevuros, and you have now the pesulas of the chasadim and gevur, which are now called blood. Exactly how that works, or that's what the string seems to be. So let's see how it plays out. As let's say, Amnam achakach noislim b'Zair Anpin to Nook, but down the line he's going to give them all to the Nook. Now remember that he said different things. He said that in one way they come out through the chaz of Zair Anpin. That's where the gevuras come out. They go down to the filter through the das of the Nook all the way down to her yesod. Then another way, he says that they're actually given to her, it sounds like they're given to her through intercourse, which I'm not sure that's right. So the Vushach HaGevuras Heim B'das Zair Anpin Amnam Acher Kach Nos Them Mazal the Nook. They all wind up in the Nook, or they give. That's true. She gets all the 5 chasadim, and as well as the Gevuros. V'etzla Mizbarna them Pesula. So by her then, the Besulas are Mizbar V'na'asa Shnei Mini Damim. So in other words, again, he was talking about the Levushim period. I guess he was talking about that. So he says, and so that is what makes the blood. So he says, so the refinement of the Levushim, the Besulas of that are called blood. That's what I think is the conclusion. I could be wrong. So Nachsa the Inyan Rishon. So he says, now let's go back to the next thing. What's the next thing? He said, "Ad kan hoyach akdama shelo choysa shaychus shayachas shaychas leinian galus mitzrayim elish hakdima." So, but we came and brought this idea because now we want to talk about why we wound up in Mitzrayim. Shahatibah kadei levayer as inyan levushach chasadim. So we want to explain that the levushim and the gevuros, and then the damim, which is going to be the besulas of that, will become choser the voyer inyan galus mitzrayim. Ki inyan galus mitzrayim, I think we I had remember of this. He says ki inyan galus mitzrayim garm sheyisrael le'elyon shul Zair Anpin yachso b'lis alam b'so the iver toch ima ilo b'bechinet tlas k'lila b'tlas. He folds himself back up in a completely defensive position. Bizman Galus Mitzrayim, Yisrael Elyon Shu Zair Anpin, Chaza the Bechinas Iver Betoch Ima Law. He goes back into that say the Bechizacha Beibach Nikvas Tlas Go Tlas. It's called it's a fold. Levisha Bisman the Iver Ha'uver Ha'uver Makufel V'Roshach B'Bein Berkov K'Mavur B'Gemara. Let's explain over there that it folds itself up. So he said Lama Holid Lama. So he said there was something missing here. Lama Holid Doime B'Mei Ima. Dome L'Mei Ima. So he says Lama Holid Ima. So he B'Mei Imo. Lepinkas, so what is, I got it now. So he says, what is it compared to? When it's inside, it's like a pinkas, which I thought a pinkas was a board or some kind of a schedule board, which folds itself up. Umunach yadav al shtei tzadav. So he puts his hands are now on his two sides. Shtei etzilos al beis erkovzav, and so I guess the lower part of his legs on his knees fold up. Base kavov, and is not the lower part, the upper part, and his two heels al base agavosov are going to be on the rest of his leg. So v'rosho munach lo bein birkov ad kan l'shonach Gemara. So that's what the Gemara, a quote over there for the Gemara. The Indian zecha b'nikvas klas go klas. So this Indian is called 3 within 3. The fi shahagat munach b'toch hanai. So we know that. V'sham heim makom shlitas mitzrayim the pyro kali alyonach shemitzad elyon k'noidach etzleinoch, and this is how Paro gets a hold of them. Mitzrayim yankol machadas Zair Anpin, when shehu begaron, when it's still in the garon. V'hagaron nikrach b'mezer is called the narrow space. Elyon, the upper narrow space, gave them shuhu makom tsar, since it's a place which is very narrow. V'lechein nikrach mitzrayim al shem yanikasim hachagorim shuhu makom tsar, which is a place which is very narrow. I think we're out of time. Thank you.